So while we're on her Make-A-Wish trip, I mean, it essentially a Make-A-Wish trip is for somebody who's terminal. So that hits. Abby just got pneumonia right before we left for her Make-A-Wish trip. So things was kind of snowballing, and she wasn't as healthy as she is right now. But we don't know what tomorrow brings. So we were sort of grieving, but part of me was feeling guilty for grieving for something we haven't lost yet. But I knew it was okay, and I knew there was sort of some anticipatory grief, and I started doing some Google research, and I came across Courageous Parent Network, and I saw the videos, and I was reading the literature, and I said, that's us. That's exactly how I feel. It's exactly what we're going through. And I'm looking at the palliative care aspect of it for the doctors, and I told her, I said, Heidi, that's exactly what we need. It's what Abby needs. We need something else to fill this void, to piece everything together, all the other doctors together, to kind of bring things forward and make sure Abby gets the best quality of life. And that's when we found Dr. O'Malley, and she's been a godsend. She's been awesome. She meets us at regular doctor's appointments for Abby.
It was actually key. We went in to meet her, and then Abby had an altered mind
Yes.
status.
See, I forget
she was
sometimes,
so sick, and when I brought Abby into the ER, Dr. O'Malley came in and she goes, I saw her last week.
Yeah.
This is not Abby. And the staff actually took notice. They did all her labs. Her glucose was off. Her potassium was off, and something else.
For the first time, so about a week or two prior to that, so yeah, we met with Dr. O'Malley, and Abby was healthy. And then it was about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call at work. Something's going on with Abby. I don't know what it is. She's never acted like this. She's not herself. So with technology, I said, well, let's FaceTime. Because as soon as she sees one of our faces, she lights up. Nothing. Completely blank stare. Stone face. I'm like, something's going on. So we called 911. She had her first case of metabolic crash.
You called 911. You called paramedic to come over.
It just sounded better. Sorry.
Unfortunately, we had to call 911.
I had a friend who was a firefighter down the street. He wasn't working. He came down and looked at her. Yeah. And then we brought her into it. And then we called MGH, and they said bring her right in. So it was a metabolic crash. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was her first time that
because she had a vomiting
she was having a stomach virus, and that's sort of, the stomach virus is definitely something we're very concerned about, because we cannot treat her ourselves here. Because of the G-tube, we can do a lot. We can keep her hydrated even when she can't tolerate her feeds. We can give her all the medications that she needs. But with the stomach bug, we can't do any of that. And essentially, she's going to need IV fluids because she's not able to get the nutrients, and she's going to have a metabolic crash like that, and all her labs are completely off.
Right, because we were keeping her hydrated, so that wasn't the problem. It was the glucose being so low, the potassium. There was another one. But either way, it was a trifecta of
electrolytes.
Her electrolytes. So it took her 24 hours of IV fluids just to get her like halfway to where she needed to be.
So when she's brought into the emergency room, and Dr. O'Malley came down to see her, to say hello, and the doctors are trying to figure out what's going on, and now they read her chart, and they look up Leigh's disease, and Leigh's disease is horrible, and it says all these things. So the doctors say, this is probably how she presents anyways. And Dr. O'Malley stood up for Abby and said, this is not the Abby I saw 2 weeks ago. There's something going on. She needs to be admitted. And sure enough, with that, I mean, that was our saving grace, and that's what I was looking for, because we wanted somebody on that side of us to kind of to be looking out for our best interest, for our daughter's best interest, to kind of step in when she was not doing so well and say, this is not the Abby that we saw. And that worked out perfect. It worked out the way we kind of hoped for.
They said she's obviously tough, because the minute she's in there and she starts getting the fluids and stuff, perks up, and I did her hair up on a little ballerina bun, and they all just melted when they saw her. They're like, oh, look at her. And she's all smiles with a music shaker because they had child life specialists come in. And she went from just like, oh, sad face to full of life once music came in. And then the nurse gave her like a sponge bath and she loved the water. Just, those two things kind of helped her turn her corner. But even when she has pneumonia at school, she wanted to work. She doesn't want to play. She wants to work. So she's got a good drive in her.
Yeah, she sure does. She's a fighter.